My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and this is a little bit of a special pillow talk because we are actually on the move now. I'm here with my lovely wife, Dr. Alicia. How you doing today, babe?
I'm doing well. You driving right now?
Yeah. I thought it would be
Mm-hmm.
fun to do a pillow talk while we drive. We're on our way back to our house from Indianapolis, and I hope everybody can hear us okay because it's kind of we don't do a lot of pillow talks while we're on the move.
Well, we need to stay alert. We're not in our beds.
So that is so true. So maybe we should change the name of the show from Pillow Talk to Steering Wheel Talk.
Okay. Car Talk. Car Talk. Remember that show, Car Talk, on NPR?
Did they talk about cars?
They did. It was brothers that got together and they had Car Talk, and they were hilarious. They don't do it anymore because I think my brother passed on. I
Oh
shade to
well.
him, but he was really good. It was really good. Did you ever listen to that?
Now you say brother, you mean like were they brothers or
Yeah.
like
No, they were. No, they were brothers, like legal brothers, and
actual brothers?
they
Brothers
were
with an R.
yeah, they were mechanics, and they would have car talk, and they would just talk about they would like people would call in, they would ask questions about what's going on with their car, and then they would
Oh,
give
I
them
remember Car
advice.
Talk.
It was such a good
Yeah.
show. It reminded me of my childhood. I grew up listening to them.
Remember Living Color? What was it? They're friendly and they're colored and they're brothers. Give
Oh,
me a high five.
I do remember living. Yeah, that was my high school days.
Living Color was one of
Living
the best
color.
shows ever.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Living Color. You know, it's kind of makes me like I feel like there hasn't Living Color is like the TV version of like what Earth, Wind, and Fire is for music. Like there really just hasn't been
Wait, hold on.
another show up there with Living Color. What do you think?
Earth, Wind, and Fire reference runs deep for me because that was a real band, real music. Their stuff was on a metaphysical level. I don't know. I don't know if I would. That's a stretch to put Earth, Wind, and Fire and Living Color in the same category.
So it's like comparing another rapper to Tupac.
Well, okay, if he's a legend in your head, yeah. So Earth, Wind, and Fire is compared to no one. Like they are in a category by themselves. Remember there was a versus with them and the Isley brothers.
That's a joke.
Like
The only group that Earth, Wind, and Fire could do a versus against would be themselves.
themselves would be they are just they are not to be compared to anybody.
I let you remember.
Just come on. Maybe a versus like Earth, Wind, and Fire 70s versus Earth, Wind, and Fire 80s. Maybe they can battle themselves. But other than that, there is no versus. Like
Team A versus Team B.
yeah, I love the Isley brothers. Don't get me wrong, but to compare them to Earth, Wind, and Fire, like, come on.
Yeah, there really is no group that can compare to Earth. But you know what?
Maybe the Commodores.
No.
But even the Commodores, they fell apart. Lionel Richie went on his own.
Yeah.
So they can't even. There is no comparison. I'm sorry.
Well, did I ever tell you my Earth, Wind, and Fire story?
Yes, but I'd like to hear it again.
Okay. By the way, before I begin, actually, I want to welcome everybody to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. This is where my therapist, professor wife, and I get online and well, usually we're against our pillows. Today's a special episode because we're actually in the car, and hopefully you guys can hear us okay. And but anyway, we talk about the smart things that two black professors who love each other would talk about in the bedroom. So if you could take 1 second, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Also, in case you'd like something, a resource that's free that can help you. We believe deeply in drama-free lifestyles, drama-free families, drama-free finances. If you can eliminate the drama, which means confronting the trauma in your life, then you can actually find yourself vibrating on a better frequency, living a better life. I mean, imagine getting rid of all the drama that's in your families, the arguments, the chaos, the fighting that breaks us apart. So if you're interested, we have a free resource and a lot of free resources actually at boyceandalicia.com. The URL's right there on the screen, so write that down. Just go to boyceandalicia.com, and you can even start with our Black Love Challenge. That's totally free. So anyway, let's. So my Earth, Wind, and Fire story. You ready to hear it?
Yeah, okay. Let's hear it.
All right. So I was in LA, right, and I was my friend invited me to one of those Hollywood parties, and I don't normally do the Hollywood parties and stuff. And so I was at this party, right, where there were these lots of B-list celebrities. Like I was in line standing next to a guy who was like the featherweight champion of the world in boxing, but
It's a
nobody,
featherweight.
yeah, nobody knows who he. I don't know if he was featherweight or he was light featherweight or heavy feather. They have 1,000 different. Yeah, so I'm in line with this guy who's like, and it's crazy because he's super smart. He had just won the world title in the light featherweight category, and I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at this dude, and he's about 5'4".
Yeah, they're little tiny people.
Yeah.
Those featherweight people are tiny.
And I'm looking at him thinking, I could probably whoop your ass.
Yeah, and I was surprised how tiny he was.
Was he wearing those suspenders like where he had one overall?
No, he had a real sharp suit on. And it was at the Staples Center in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
But they have like there's like a party room. Anyway, so I was there and I saw Mike Tyson. He walked right past me. He was tiny. Like I thought he was going to be big, but he wasn't really that big.
Mike Tyson is like wide.
I mean,
stocky.
He's muscular for sure.
Pound for pound, he's just a break.
But he wasn't. I thought he would be bigger. I was surprised, but that was his face and everything. It was clearly him.
Oh, so anyway,
go ahead.
So my Earth, Wind, and Fire story. I'm gonna share this. Then we gotta get to our topic because if we don't do that, everybody gonna get mad at us. So all right. So I was at the. So I saw the guitarist from Earth, Wind, and Fire, and the guy with the big hair, and everybody
with
was
the mane.
And I went up to him and I was like, I wanted an autograph too. I wanted to tell him like, hey, I really love your music. And he's signing all these autographs, all these people around him, and he sees me and he just stops. And he goes, oh, he said, brother, I watch you every day. And everybody at this Hollywood party, again, that's not my crowd. They're all looking over at me like, who is this guy? He ain't nobody. And it was so cool. Yeah, he said he watches the podcast every day. How cool is that?
Oh, that's really remarkable. I think that's not Maurice White, but that's his brother. I can't remember his name, but they're from Chicago.
Well, are they really?
Maurice White is the Ashe to him. He's passed on, but he was the lead singer, and his brother with the mane. That's his brother. Talking about brothers today. Isn't that something?
Oh yeah! Shout out to my father's brother,
and your father's
Jerry Watkins. He just died yesterday in a house fire, and my uncle Jerry and my grandfather Bobby. This month, two men in our family on my mother's side, father's side. My grandfather Bobby Couch, R.I.P. to him. Lived a strong life. He's a strong Farrakhan supporter, a real quality black man. He just died.
Who was?
My grandfather Bobby.
Oh, your grandfather. Okay.
Yeah. He was a big believer in Farrakhan and everything. And then my Uncle Jerry,
who was a fan of Pillow Talk.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, Uncle Jerry was a fan of the podcast, and also Uncle Jerry was a Vietnam veteran. So shout out to all the veterans in the house. Much respect to you. And he died yesterday. So.
Oh, Ashe.
Yeah, thank you. By the way, give us a yes in the chat if you can hear us okay. Let us know if you can hear us okay. Give us a yes so we can know that we're coming through all right. And look down.
Wait, can people see?
If you're seeing yeses, we should. But so let's talk about our topic.
I don't see any yet. Oh, Vernine White,
Well,
yes.
Eventually, it takes a second. There's a delay.
Oh, okay.
Like a 5-second delay.
Oh, there is a 5-second delay. Okay, I think they can hear us. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So one of the things we were talking about was this weird manosphere that emerged on the internet. Almost the way you have like a bunch of Klansmen that get together online and they start rallying talking about how they're gonna go and burn down the Capitol or whatever.
Storm the Capitol.
Start a race war. It's like all these factions. So one of the interesting factions is kind of you got a manosphere and you actually have a womanosphere.
Yes, you do.
Where the goal is to sit around and whine and complain about the other gender. Like some of these dudes really hate black women, and it's real interesting. And it's almost like entertainment. Like they enjoy watching. Like they'll watch Kevin Samuels bring a black woman out so he can just beat her in public. They'll be like, "Sit down, bitch." raggedy here, raggedy home. Yeah, garbage. These women are garbage. These women are trash. And it's interesting, right? And I think that when you have that kind of vitriol, it seems like it dilutes from the point you're trying to make. You know, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, it's not therapeutic at all. Maybe it's a little therapeutic, but it doesn't help. It fans the flame of the divide of black men and women. And I'm just appalled that all of that angst gets so much attention on internet. I had no idea that you're working out your issues about black women on everybody around you. Like, I don't get it.
Well, you know, it is kind of interesting. I don't know. I mean, I will go ahead and definitely draw that line in the sand and ask everybody, you know, do you think that the community is better off where black men and black women are finding ways to repair and to get along? I mean, I don't know. Give me a yes or no if you believe in things like black love and black family and black people working together, you know, across genders. I'm hoping that there are people out there who think that way, because it's really fascinating to see the amount of weird vitriol where I imagine, and I think I want to talk to you about this as a therapist, because a lot of this stuff is linked to your childhood, like linked to your issues with women, your issues with your mother, you know, things like that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I often wonder, some of these beliefs, where do these beliefs come from? Like, where do they originate? And if you start talking to somebody and you start like digging down into it, like, what did this happen to you? Who told you? Because you believe all of the things that you hear. It's like, who told you that these things were? Where did you get these messages from? And really, when you scrape all the butter off the toast, there was some sort of unresolved issues that they have with their own mother. Maybe they felt their mother wasn't there for them. Maybe they felt that their mother was dismissive and abusive. And how do you not carry that on in your life? So when you get older, but remember, your external world is primarily dictated by your beliefs. Everything that you believe in is spread, permeates throughout, and you have to really shed yourself in it. This is really interesting because today is Easter Sunday. How about that? This is Easter Sunday, and this is a resurrection. So I think today we should dedicate this show to the resurrection. You need to shed all of the trauma and shed all of this beliefs that the black man is bad, that the black woman is awful. You need to shed all of that and resurrect in yourself this love and compassion that I think is very much needed. I mean, on my page, I posted a page on Instagram about Gabrielle Union, about how her husband, who is she married to again?
Dwayne Wade.
Dwayne Wade, and how the cute little interchange between the two of them. And you could tell there was a lot of passion and a lot of genuine love between them. And I shared like this little clip, but you'd be so amazed at how she got dogged by a lot of comments on my Instagram page. They talked really horrible about her. And I just thought that, the point of the post was just to show a nice loving interaction between two people, but it became more than that. It became where it was kind of bashing this black woman. And so I think like today, just shed ourselves of these things to our best ability and resurrect in ourselves this belief, because what you believe in is what it will manifest in your life.
Okay, so let's go back to Gabrielle Union. Yeah. I think that we should separate how you feel about one black person
exactly
from how you might feel about a whole group of people, right? Because I know people that have an issue with Gabrielle Union because they parade that child around, as some sort of promotion for transgenderism and all that. Not to say that's right or wrong. I think people have a right to believe what they want to believe. But when you got your 11-year-old and you're parading your 11-year-old son as a little girl, a lot of people are offended by that. A lot of people feel like that's very exploitive and predatory. So yeah. I don't think that loving black.
The comments weren't related to that. The comments on my page was just related to how terrible of a woman she is.
Okay. Anyway, that part I do agree. I do agree with that, right? But I think, like, when you think about it, right, I think that people should have the right to, for example, feel a certain way about Gabrielle or feel a certain way about Jada Pinkett Smith that they want to. Or even though a lot of it's speculation, right? You don't really know these people. Or feel the way they want even about Lizzo. I have stated that I have concerns about not Lizzo as a person, but Lizzo conspiring with record labels to promote obesity and extreme behavior, let's just call it whorish behavior amongst black women, amongst the black community. I think that the promotion of obesity is dangerous. Black people are dying from obesity during the pandemic. I think also it promotes a minstrel show, right? And I said that, and so when I made that statement, people said, "Oh, Boyce hates black women." It's like, no, I don't hate black women. I don't even hate Lizzo. I'm defending black women by making this point that the black woman doesn't have to be a cartoon character for her to get a record deal. A black woman should be able to show talent just like a white woman can. So I think that what we can allow should allow people the right to do is to not worry about symbolism as a way to express the general idea. When I say symbolism, I mean this idea that if you don't like that one black man or that one black woman, if you dislike that one black man, that means that you hate all black men. No, you might have an issue with that one black man, right? So overall, though, what I see in a lot of these spaces, and I look at this specifically, whenever I hear about guys kind of going off about about women and stuff like that, I always listen for any statements you're making that are generalized. Like when you say these black women, or all these black women, or this is why I don't date black women, or black women ain't nothing. Black women, they do this and they do that. It's like, come on, dude. Like what you're really telling on yourself, because what you're talking about is your own experience. Your hatred comes from your experience. Your baby mama might have fit that description. Your mother might fit that description. The women you chase after might fit that description, but you can't talk about all black women based on the 8 or 9 experiences that you had that made you into the loser because you chose losing situations for your life.
Yeah, I agree with that absolutely, and I also think to add to that is just that it's how you speak about those people. It's like, are you speaking from a place of compassion, or are you speaking from a place of just tearing somebody down? And I think that's the difference. So it does, whether any black woman that gets bashed on the internet for whatever reason, how could that not be subconsciously symbolized as this is the representation of black women? I mean, you could tell yourself consciously, this is just one person, but on a subconscious level, it's going to be in your mind register as all black women. That's why images are so important. And so just to like support your thought about we need to promote healthy lifestyle. So it has to be done in a place of compassion and understanding instead of just tearing somebody down for no reason at all.
Mm, I think that's a good
That's
point.
the problem.
I think it's a good point, and I think sometimes what can occur, I've noticed, is if somebody goes off about one particular person, because white people do that with us, right?
Oh yeah.
There'll be one black guy in the media who does something, or even the way they handle Will Smith. The way the
I think it's
language
overdone.
the language
Honestly.
that some people use to describe Will Smith's behavior was driven by their general disdain for black men as a collective. And I think, like with Will Smith, it was more like, okay, now you're acting like the rest of them. Like we thought you were different, but now we realize you're not different. You're just like all those other violent black men that are out here.
Yeah, and I think that's totally ridiculous because nobody's more violent than white people.
That's
Nobody.
right.
I mean,
Preach.
no one doesn't get any more violent than just them. I mean, we were just listening to a history of
Well,
Russia.
don't generalize though. I
Well,
mean,
I'm just talking about. We were listening to the history of Russia and Ukraine, on our trip. I mean, and it was just the history of how it started and how Poland and Germany and all of that. The interaction, it was nothing but violence. The Vikings, it was just the whole history was violent. And so, if you want to, like, I mean, how dare you point the finger at anything that we do and say it's violent? You don't even have the right to do that.
well, I do agree with that, right? And I think that's a valid point. I think that, and I think just to qualify though, like, I don't think it would make sense to say white people are violent. I think it would make sense to say that maybe there's aspects of European culture that have heavily promoted
I'm talking
violence.
about facts. I'm talking about numbers. Add up the dead bodies. Who's got the more dead bodies? Who's got more bodies? I'm talking about wiping out whole generations of Native Americans, tribes. There are Native American tribes that don't even exist anymore. It's only a I want to say I have to go back into I don't have my notes in front of me, but it's something like 10% of the tribes exist now. that used to exist that were murdered.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
mean, and I'm not even talking about, the I'm just talking about one little incident, but our history is just replete with instances like that.
That's
So
true.
let's don't start with me about this violent thing. It just like just on that level it bothers me.
Mm.
Please.
All right, everybody. You're listening to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. We're not against our pillows today. We're actually on the move right now. I hope you guys can hear us. Let us know you can hear us okay. And also take 1 second, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Also, we put together a Black Love Challenge that you can actually do as a couple or by your or individually. That will make you better at managing your relationships, communication, things like that. And it's not just romantic love. We're talking about love for your children, love for yourself, love for your friends, your circle. So feel free, if you'd like to do the challenge for free, feel free to go to boyceandalicia.com. There's also free resources we'd like to offer you guys. So boyceandalicia.com, that's the URL. All right, so let's get back to this whole idea of the creation of the manosphere and disdain. I became more in touch with the manosphere when you and I got married, and I got on one knee and I proposed to you, and we shared the video. It was viewed by well over 1 million people, probably 2 million. I don't know. A lot of people watched it, and I saw mostly about 95% of the comments were very positive, but then I saw like kind of the generation of a lot of real interesting negative energy, almost like men that were just mad at us for being happy, like just mad at, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's the game of the internet. You get views on your channel by attacking things and attacking people. But it was really concerning because it was like, what did I do to hurt you? Like, what did I do other than say, gosh, I really love this black woman and I believe in black love and black family, and I want to share this as an example, as a template for young guys. I feel like at 50, OG status is real to me. It means you're a teacher, you're a leader. I'm a teacher not just by profession, but I think when you hit a certain age, you're supposed to start teaching. So I was like, let me just show young guys, that if you meet a woman that you're really into, here's an appropriate way to approach her, right? And I remember just being so fascinated by the amount of disdain for black women that I saw. And when I see that, really, it makes me think about like a person who they want to get a job and they say, I want to make $100,000 a year, but I only want to work 2 hours a day, and I don't want to leave my house, and I don't have any skill or any credentials. And then the company's like, well, we're not going to pay you $100,000 a year with no skill, no work, and no credentials. And the person gets pissed off. Like these damn corporations, they're just crooks. They
Yeah.
exploit, and I think about that. Like I think about that guy who isn't doing that well, isn't taking care of himself, isn't doesn't have any goals, doesn't he's making he's making raggedy money, but he's chasing after some woman who's got a lot more going on and a lot more options. And so when she says no, thank you, he's like, oh, you raggedy bitch. You know what I'm talking about? Does anybody ever see that? You ever notice those guys where they're like, hey girl, you looking good, girl, blah blah blah. And then when the woman says no, thank you, suddenly the language flips. You raggedy hoe, you stupid bitch, you blah 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 blah. Yeah, get your raggedy ass out, right? And then next thing you know, they're on the manosphere talking about how women are stuck up and materialistic.
Yeah, and so if you're capable of that sort of verbal abuse, is what it is. If you're
Mm.
capable of such, I'm sure you were putting some verbal abuse energy out there, and I'm sure women, if they're intuitive, can pick up on that. Be like, I think this dude is kind of prone to verbal abuse, and so I think it's just what it is that if you have that in you, those sort of things will permeate. Yeah, and I think it's really interesting. I don't know. I was going to get into gratitude. I mean, if you want anything in your life, the very first thing you need to do is just be grateful for what you do have.
Mm.
Grateful for the
Okay, so
relationships
what is
around
gratitude?
yourself.
Connect gratitude to the manosphere and the hatred of black women. I'm trying to make that connection.
Well, I mean, gratitude is so important because it makes you pay attention to what's going well in your life instead of what's not going well in your life. What women around you, or what people around you, you know, are you appreciative of? So when you show that appreciation and you have that sense of gratitude in yourself, it helps change who you are. It changes your disposition. You put out this real positive energy, I think. So many people focus on what's wrong and the problem with black women is and the problem with black men. So if you continue to just focus on that instead of approaching it with a sense of understanding and compassion, I think that's kind of what happens with when who you are. And so it kind of it it I think if we start it there and then you start paying attention and you start understanding why behavior happens the way it does. So let me give you an example. Um, there's a lot of women who date and they just say, he did this one thing and I just can't take it. I'm done with him. I'm moving this way. Ain't nobody out here good enough. But you ignore the 10 other things that they did that was beautiful and remarkable. And all you can do is focus on the lack thereof. And so I think that if you start approaching life, you're going to be like that guy who you just mentioned, who said, she turned me down. And so now you're going to start barking out all of these sort of insults to this woman. So it's part of it, again, is just looking at yourself. And that's what I mean when I say that.
Well, one thing I could definitely say is I think a lot of people never learned, maybe because they never saw it in their own life. They never saw a parent compromise to maintain a marriage. They never saw, at least I know in my household, I've had men think that my dad, they've marveled at the amount of patience he's had with my mother. They've marveled at the amount of patience my mother has with my father. And so if you grow up with somebody who's single, ain't never really had nobody longer than 2 weeks, who constantly is reminding you that they'll never compromise for another person, that right there kind of, I think, sets the wrong precedent, because it's almost like when people ask me for advice on what to do about their job, how to get a promotion on the job, they're having a problem with their boss. I tell them, I flat out say, don't ask my advice, because I don't have a boss. Don't ask me to teach you how to compromise with your boss, because I'm going to get you fired. I will be the guy who gets you fired from your job, because I'm going to tell you, oh, he made you come in at 8 in the morning. You shouldn't have to do that. You should be able to sleep till 11 or what, just whatever, right? These unrealistic expectations. So a lot of times I think single people are the absolute worst at giving people advice on how to maintain a relationship. Anybody telling you should never have to compromise ain't never really, if you look at their track record, chances are they ain't never had a relationship that's lasted more than a few months. Unless they found somebody that they could just walk all over.
Yeah, I'm glad that you saw compromise growing up, because that's what's very important in relationships. I mean, you're gonna have gridlock situations. You're not gonna agree on everything. How could you agree on everything?
You're not going to.
And so it takes compromise to come up with a win-win situation, and not to have that compromise requires people to talk, to people to share, and people to open up and tell a story about why their decision is so important to them, and to come up with the goal of trying to find common ground. Common ground is so important when you're trying to compromise with another person, and you can't do it if you spend the rest of your life alone. You'll never ever be able to develop the ability to compromise, which in turn, sometimes the decision can be better than it would have been had you just gone on it alone. And it requires you to be flexible. It requires you to have empathy and appreciation for the other person and their thoughts and ideas that could be different from yours. It's to be just single and by yourself and to just say, I ain't compromising, and then dump somebody for whatever reason because you can't get along on this one topic. Where's the growth in that?
Well, let me say this.
There's no growth.
I have a theory. You want to hear my theory?
What's your theory?
Healthy relationships are not for people who are determined to be stuck on stupid. If you are a stupid person or determined to be stupid, and that's okay if you don't know nothing, but you got to want to not be stupid, right? If you're determined to be stuck on stupid, you're not going to make it in a relationship, because relationships, in my view, especially managing and running a family, requires you to play chess, not checkers. You can't look at every decision in a vacuum. You got to factor in all the variables. All the variables. So let's say you and I are debating where we want to eat dinner that night, and I say I want to go to Ponderosa, and you say, nah, I want to go to Portillo's. I could be like, man, this whack chick done made me go to Portillo's and I want to go to Ponderosa. I ain't putting up with that. That's I'm not settling, right? But then if I'm smart, I'm gonna stop and say, wait a minute, is your goal to win the argument, or is your goal to maintain the relationship? Is your goal to have, to eat at Ponderosa by any means necessary, or is your goal to go ahead and take the L on this one, so to speak, or make a compromise on this one, so that you can get the W later on? The W is that my wife and I are we have one less thing to argue about because I went ahead and conceded on this issue. Now maybe I'll stand my ground a little more firmly on something else, but in this case, I'll let you. We can go to Portillo's, right? And that's the thing I've noticed. That was one of the bigger challenges of when you are single. You get to do everything real simple. Like everything's simple. It's like you ask me to do something, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it because I demand to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. And I don't care. I ain't letting nobody tell me what to do because I ain't nobody going to tell me. Ain't nobody going to boss me around. I get all that, right? I totally get it. And that's fine if that's the life you choose. But you can't think that way and then still simultaneously claim to be pursuing family and relationships, which involves the multidimensional ability to operate on multiple frequencies and vibrations and factor in a long list of variables. Like I have to, when I make a decision in this household, I got to think about how it affects you, how it affects me, how it affects my mama, how it affects your mama, how it affects our kids, right? And how it affects every child differently. I can't, my PhD helps me immensely when it comes to being a father and a husband. I'm not saying you have to have a PhD to do that. You just have to desire wisdom, and you have to have points of reflection and patience and good mental health. Because if you're snapping off the deep end and just doing whatever you want and living life like the Tasmanian devil, I don't think you're gonna win that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that makes perfect sense. Like, so what's the point of it all? Like, what's the point of being with someone else? What's the point of compromising? Why am I compromising? Wouldn't it be better to just be single and not compromise?
Yeah, I think that. But
So
I think it's a good point, right? So that's it, right? So I think the question is, like, is being single really working for you? Because I see a lot of, and if it's working for you, then I think it should continue to work for you, right? But what you see is you see a lot of people who are single and lonely, and they remain lonely without being willing to make the compromises necessary to maintain a relationship. Like, so a lot of us, it's like if you're sitting out in the cold and you're freezing to death, and you say, I don't want to be out in the cold. I want to be inside the house because y'all warm and toasty next to the fire. Well, other people might be like, yeah, but this house has a rent that you must pay to be in the house. The relationship is the house. In order to be in the house, you got to be willing to pay the rent. If you ain't willing to pay the rent, or the mortgage rather, the mortgage on this house, then no, you got to take your non-paying ass outside and sleep on the porch and be cold. Now, I hope you got a nice coat to keep you warm.
Yeah, so my answer would be is for growth. The whole point of being in a relationship with someone is for growth. I mean, think about it. Like, I'm thinking back on like how I was when I was 20 years old. When I was 20 years old, I was like, I didn't know how to cook. I had no idea how to cook.
You were very hot when you were 20 years old. You wouldn't have had to cook for me. I would have cooked for you because you
No,
look
but
that good.
that's not the point. The point is that I wasn't who I am now. And I never would have been had I not gotten married and had children and been pushed to grow.
When did you start learning how to cook? You didn't know how to cook when I first met you. So
No,
how
I
did you?
didn't know how to
How did?
cook, but I had to learn because that was part of my growth process. I had to learn how to eat healthy and how to cook, which required me to figure out how to cook. Like my mom cooked a lot, but then I'm on the phone with her all the time. Like, wait, how'd you cook that casserole dish? Because you start realizing I can't eat at McDonald's all day. I gotta eat more healthy. And so you want to do that for the family. You have children, you want to be able to, wow, you start reading about GMO foods and you want to like invest your money into making sure the food that comes into your house is although it's really hard to do, but you want to make sure that your family's eating healthy because you have all of these goals, so your ideas shift. And so the point of it all is for growth. And in order for me to accomplish motherhood and being a wife, I had to learn how to provide for, and I had to take on these characteristics that I didn't have at 20. Someone could look at me and be like, I ain't marrying her. She don't know how to cook. Well, good grief, can you? I don't need to know how to cook right now. I could just eat. I used to eat all sorts of stuff back then. I didn't really need to. So it's being able to grow and develop in a way that you never would have had been able to develop if you were single. And show compassion and life and even growth in terms of, okay, so like, let's go to us in our marriage. I grow every single day just being married to you, because I'm doing things that I've never done before. I've never done half of the things I do every day. I've never done before, and I wouldn't have been able to do it if we hadn't gotten married. So it's a whole nother level of growth that I'm finding if I had stayed single.
Well, I think with the cooking thing, which, by the way, I do appreciate your cooking very much, because you are.
I like your cooking too, Boyce. You can cook.
My cooking will kill people.
It will not.
You do not want me cooking.
I don't know if people know you used to cook. You remember you cooked breakfast?
I made French toast for you 4 years ago.
No, you made French toast for me.
That is so funny.
And you made bacon and eggs. You don't remember this? You made bacon and eggs.
Yeah, but that was not.
And it was delicious. You were so good.
Okay, there we go.
And I was standing in the kitchen with you, and you talked the entire time. I was like, he is not gonna stop talking.
Anyway,
but it was cute.
Okay, I'll take credit for that, but I don't know where you're getting that from. But anyway,
it happened.
Anyway, everybody, what's going on? I want you guys to know you're listening to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins, and we're not against our pillows. We're actually on the road right now, headed back to Chicago, but we thought we'd chime in to say hi to everybody. If you could take 1 second, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Share, subscribe, everything else. Also, you can go to boyceandalicia.com. We have a lot of free resources, including our Black Love Challenge, as well as tips and information on how you can remove the drama and the trauma from your relationships, from your family. As you know, my wife is a licensed therapist. She sees couples on a regular basis, and also my PhD is in finance. So we can help you to get rid of the drama by dealing with the trauma so that you can actually rise up and achieve the things you want to achieve. All right, so anyway, so let's get back to the manosphere thing. All right, so one of the things that's interesting is, I will say that when you're talking about the relationships, you talk about the manosphere and the kind of constant interest in dogging out Black women almost like it's a sport. It's interesting to me because it's almost like with dating, it seems to me that people are playing different games. So, like, for example, when you do speed dating at the All Black National Convention, the people there were respectful. The men there they were looking for quality women. The women were looking for quality men. The people there were intelligent and decent, and they ain't no disrespect and nothing in that space. The energy was very positive. I suspect that a lot of the manosphere, in terms of the negative energy that can come out of that, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, is driven by the fact that they're not dating the women that you saw at the convention. They're dating different kinds of people. Not to say that they're low quality people, but maybe these are people who haven't addressed their trauma, who are predatory in their behavior. Right? People think men are the only ones who can be predators. That's not true. Women can be predatory too. So when you're talking about the women who are chasing the money, or the ones who will just fly out to go see a man just because he's got a little bit of money or whatever, and then get his money and keep going. So I almost feel like that's what's going on, right? Like with Snoop Dogg used to say, remember when they asked Snoop Dogg, like, why do you say we don't love them hoes, and why do you call women bitches and all this stuff? He actually kind of tried to go out of his way to say, no, I'm not talking about all women. I'm talking about the women that we meet. The strippers that want your money, the gold diggers who just want to sleep with a rapper, the groupies, who just want to hang out backstage. He said, I'm not talking about all women. And I wonder if that's part of it as well, that when you hear women bashing and talking crazy about men, it's because they're choosing low quality men, or well, not low quality, but men. Let's not say low quality. Let's say men who are out to harm and exploit, and that's their experience. And then the same thing with the men. They're dating the women who are there to harm and exploit. And I think what happens is that the two groups kind of end up blending, where you have good people who become bad people because they started dating a bad person. That's why I think it's very important to be very intentional about who you have in your circle. If you are a good person, I believe you need to be around good people. You need to love yourself enough to not engage on a significant level with people that you feel possess in energy and values that are not consistent with your own. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know how what I think. I think there's we got to get away from talking about good people and bad people. It's not. I don't see individuals like that. So you mentioned several things. One thing you mentioned were women who were only after men for their money. Is
Yeah.
that what you're talking about? Okay. So, those type of women, that's not all that there is of those women. I mean, I don't I'm uncomfortable with reducing someone down to just a sentence. Oh, you're just a gold digger. It puts a label on somebody and it doesn't fully express or fully explain what's going on for them. So, what is it about money for these women that they seem like that's the only thing that they're attracted to? They don't care about themselves, or they don't care about the man. All they care about is just getting money from men. Like, where does that come from? So that's what I'm thinking. Like, instead of uh just pushing people aside and be like, oh, she's just a gold digger, boom, she's a bad person. I'm more into trying to wait, hold on, let's address this. Come talk to me, open up, what's happening. It seems as if all you want is the green dollar. There's got to be more underneath that. What is it that's going on for these individuals? Because my disposition is that these individuals actually want love. They actually want love, and that they're afraid. So they figure, if I'm going to just, what I feel like men would want is my body, and for my body they have to give me some money. What's really going on underneath that? Is it fear? So that's just an example of how, instead of just talking terrible about somebody because of that one particular thing, or even talking terrible about men and bashing men because they're having that, I'm more interested in exploring that. So
Okay.
what did you have
Well,
to say to that?
what you said. The
Mm-hmm.
mic is.
Oh.
What you said makes sense, right? But I think remember, you're a therapist, and
Uh-huh.
that's what you do for a living, and you do it very well. You pull things out of people, you understand root causes, you work with them, right? And I get that, right? Um, I'm not so much in the business. If you were talking about my personal life, where I'm deciding who to let in my life, I got out of the business of fixing people a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I take you for what you represent. Now you might really deep down, maybe you just are behaving like a gold digger, because you got these unaddressed issues, this trauma that hasn't been dealt with. You have all these latent reasons that drive everything you do. I respect that, but it's not my job to fix you or to necessarily dissect that, especially when it can be dangerous for me, right? Like, it's like if somebody, like, for example, rapists have lots of trauma, I'm sure, that is unaddressed, and psychological issues. I don't think it makes sense. I don't think it's safe for a woman to try to figure out why this man is about to violate her. She needs to get away from his ass, period, right? And same thing is true for men. We don't get physically violated, but we can be emotionally violated by a woman. We can be financially violated by a woman. You could be even socially and professionally violated. If you get somebody that's crazy enough that because of her unaddressed trauma, she gonna come to your job and get you fired, and or ruin your reputation, falsely accuse you of something, right? All of that, I get it. Like, all those people need to go see the therapist. They all need to line up at your office. But I'm not gonna be, if let's say I was single, I wouldn't be the one trying to get to all of that. I just would identify the behavior characteristics and say, since you ain't fixed that, I don't want you in my life. I don't need that kind of energy in my space. But I can give you the recommendation of a good therapist, or I could be your friend from a distance.
Uh-huh. Well, I wasn't saying that to fix somebody, because you mentioned fix someone. I heard you say that. I'm just talking about having an understanding. You
Mm-hmm.
having an understanding that underneath that is there are probably some insecurities that people, all of us have insecurities, like Kanye West song, All Falls Down. I'm insecure. We all insecure. I'm the first to admit it, or whatever he says. Like, I love that part because all of us have some insecurities, and it gets manifested in different ways. And so for some people it gets manifested in, I have to have money, or you just reduce somebody down to just an objectifying other people. And of course it's all abusive when you have all of these issues, but I'm not saying you should put up with abuse. I mean, you definitely don't need to continue a relationship with somebody who just wants you for money and they don't want you for anything else. But I'm saying what we need to have, instead of you being hurt and upset and lashing out at these individuals and calling them nothing and nobody, you're contributing to this air of just anger and hurt that doesn't need to be there. So sometimes you can just let people go. You can wish them well and let them try to work it out on their own. Or what most of us do, and no matter who you choose, everybody's going to have their baggage. And so you have to look at their baggage and decide, is this something that I want to take on, or is this way too much? I can't take this on. And so, if you're weighing the pros and cons, if you decide, okay, I'm going to take on this baggage, that's where you really need to have the fix part comes in, because you can fix a lot of the insecurities, and a lot of the trauma can be fixed with a nice, healthy relationship.
I think it can be.
Yeah.
But I think it can be, but I think it's very dangerous to get into the job of the business of fixing people. Especially, remember, to fix somebody, you have to typically do it with their consent. And there's a lot of people who are really broken, who don't even know that they're broken, or who won't even acknowledge it, won't even address it, don't want to confront it, And I know that I talked to a guy once who told me that he got in a divorce from his wife, and she'd gone through insane amounts of trauma as a kid, and he said, hey, why don't we go to therapy? And he said his wife refused to get therapy. And I just told him straight up, I said, if I were you, I would never marry a woman who refuses to get therapy if she needs it. Like that,
Well, therapy comes in a bunch of different ways. I mean, so like I know some people who go on spiritual retreats, who do all these things. So whatever it is, you have your method. Everybody has their own method of going to therapy, and what's therapeutic to them and what's comfortable to them, to help fix what's happening with them.
Make sure everybody can hear.
Can everybody hear us? I'm trying to see if there's anybody that can't hear us.
Yeah.
It looks like people can hear us.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure everybody can hear. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I do agree with that, right? I can hear that too. So I guess if they're not, I personally believe that formal healing, or some formal process that is helping you to evolve and grow, is critical. I would be looking for that. Now, if you tell me you don't want to see a therapist, but you tell me, hey, I go on spiritual retreats and that helps me heal, I'm going to judge whether or not that healing is actually.
But it's not your place to judge anything.
Well,
what is your place?
No, but it is my place to judge if it's my life. If it's my life, I'm judging everything.
I don't know if you should be judgmental in your life, though.
No. Judgmental meaning that yes, I think you should be judgmental about what you allow into your space. It doesn't mean you judge a person's right to be who they want to be. Like, you can be who you want to be. But if you're asking me to invest my money, invest my time, or invest my love, you as an investment analyst, I can tell you judge that investment. You make sure that investment does. You measure the risk, you measure the reward, you determine if it's worth what they're asking for from you, right? So I do think you should have some judgment. Bad judgment is what causes all the crazy situations that are out here.
Okay. I'm just of the belief that instead of judging, you should try to understand. You should try to talk to the person and ask them questions, become very curious, because clearly they have a reason for doing what they're doing. And I think judgment, just judging something that's good or bad, it just doesn't make the other person feel as if they're heard and understood. So I think that's the one thing where I'm just kind of like, I'm not certain that judgment is important. Understanding is important. Empathy is important. You don't have to agree, but you really need to have an understanding. And judgment, means that some of that might be lacking.
Okay, I can get that, right? So I think that so maybe at the very least you should judge who you allow into your space. You should judge your choices. That was a good choice. That was a bad choice.
Well,
I think that choices matter, right? And I
mhm.
also think that when you're talking, you're right. When you talk, once you've chosen to make an investment in a person, then you're right. All that empathy and all these other factors do come into play. But also, I think it's as a practical matter, it's okay and important for everybody to realize you are always going to be judged on some level. I know as a dad and as a man, the man of that house, I'm being judged constantly on my behavior. Sure, sometimes everybody, including the kids, is going to take a moment to empathize. Like, why did Boyce just scream at me and cuss me out today, right? They might empathize. Oh, he's having a bad day. But really, in many cases, especially if I'm traumatizing other people, they're just going to judge me. They're going to be like, what the hell are you doing? Just like, and that's the way life works. When you go to court, it's not called, the judge, the person at the center of the court is not called the empath. They're called the judge, and they don't issue an empathetic statement. They issue a judgment because your behavior
Yeah,
affects other people.
a family and a marriage is not a courtroom.
True.
It's
Okay.
not
Good.
a
Good. Good. Good
courtroom.
point. Good
It
point.
never
Good point.
should be.
I can see that. Good point. You're right. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. But I think that there is a point where you have to understand the whole world is not always going to empathize with why you lashed out or why you hurt another person, especially when you get in the business of violating other people because you haven't addressed your issue. The first person that has to be empathetic to you is yourself. You've got to connect to whatever the hell it is causing you to harm other people, because people's ability to have the patience required for empathy, I think, limits itself once you start violating people around you.
I don't understand what you're talking about with violate. Can you say more about
Well, I'm talking about
violating?
violent. I'm talking
I
about
think like nobody. I think you jeopardize losing your family if you're abusive.
right.
So I'm like, don't quite understand what you mean by that. So what I'm talking about, I'm not talking about being abused. I think no one deserves being abused, and I think that in families there should be a level of respect among individuals and families, and nobody should fall below that. Right? You shouldn't fall below that. And if you do, it needs to be pointed out, it needs to be recognized, and you need to apologize. So that's where I don't know how you can be abusive and judgmental. That kind of goes together. But empathy and compassion, you can't have empathy and compassion at the same time having abuse and, and judgment. Like those things can't happen at the same time.
Well, let
That's
me.
what I'm saying.
Well, one thing I will say is, I think that a lot of the reason that some people stay in abusive relationships is because they are overly empathetic of the person who is abusing them,
Okay.
right? Like
Okay.
they understand, like, well, the reason my husband gets, goes out, smokes crack, and comes home and beats me is because his mother abandoned him when he was a child, and he hasn't overcome that. Well, and so I think empathy is a good weapon, but remember, too much empathy, I believe, can make you vulnerable to people that might ultimately harm you because of their dysfunction.
Okay, so you can have empathy and not be with the person. So empathy doesn't require that the relationship stays together. You can have empathy for someone and dissolve the relationship. Empathy is something that I think is never a weapon, because I know you mentioned empathy as a weapon. It's never a weapon. It's something that I think we need more of in our community. So
When
let's
did I
just
wait?
keep
When did
that.
I say empathy is a weapon?
You did. You said we'll go back
I didn't
to.
say it was a
You
weapon.
did. You said empathy is used as a weapon.
Hey y'all, did I say empathy was a weapon?
I heard you say
If I
that.
said it, I'm like Barack Obama when he said Michelle misspoke. So
Okay.
let me just say, Dr. Boyce misspoke if he said empathy was a
I
weapon.
heard
But
you
please
say
continue.
empathy was used as a weapon. So
Okay,
it's
okay.
not a weapon. Wait, maybe what you're talking about is sympathy, like you feel sorry for somebody in the relationship with them. That's
Okay,
totally different.
okay.
So some people get those too. Some people get those too. So
So what it sounds to me like you're saying too, though, because when you talk about ending the relationship, to me that I define that as a way of passing judgment,
no,
right?
not
Like I think no, no,
necessarily.
but no, really, like I'm judging that this is not, well, at least in my worldview, right? In the Boyce worldview, if I say So it sounds to me like you could do both, right? I could say, look, I empathize. I understand the reason that you smoke crack and come home and beat me is because your mother abandoned you and you went through these terrible experiences. But um, I'm now going to pass judgment and make a judgment on what I'm gonna do with my life, which includes not being with you anymore. So what do you think about that?
Okay, listen. Sometimes relationships have an expiration date. Sometimes when time's up, time's up. I mean, there's nothing you. I mean, it just happens like that, and so you can decide. Like I talk to a lot of people who are on the fence about their relationship, and I just ask them thought-provoking questions like, how do you see the rest of your life? You're married to an abusive drug addict. How do you see the rest of your life panning out if you continue on with the status quo? Where do you see yourself in the future? And so you have to make a decision. I don't know, I guess you want to use the word judgment. I'm just talking about, making a decision what's best for you and your family. And um, it doesn't mean, I mean, if you're married to somebody who's in treatment, who's in rehab, who's actually putting in the work to make themselves better for the family, because you owe it to your family. That's another thing. If you're going to be an abusive drug addict, stay single. But if you're going to be married and you're going to have a family, then that's not what you do. You work on yourself. You owe it to your partner, you owe it to your family, to work on yourself. So if you're in a situation and you're with somebody who's not willing to work on themselves, no matter what's going on, then I mean, you can still show empathy and even sympathy to that matter. But that doesn't mean that person needs to be with you in the future.
Mm, okay.
You can decide what you want. I mean, sometimes you have built up resentment and anger and hurt. Who can put up with that for the rest of their life? Nobody. You want peace in your life.
Mm. Everybody, you're listening to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. We are not against our pillows right now. We're actually on the move. But if you guys can hear us, let us know you can hear us okay. Give us a yes in the chat to make sure the audio is coming through all right. And also, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. And if you want free resources on how to get rid of the drama in your relationships, how to get rid of the drama in your finances, things like that, we are good at that. That is what we do. There are free resources at boyceandalicia.com. So go to boyceandalicia.com. The URL's on the screen. And thank you guys for joining us. Okay, so let's hit the last topic, before we bounce out. So I'll say this, when I look at we originally were talking about the manosphere, and we dove into not just sort of judging um, what somebody does or what you don't like about them, but figuring out why they might do the things you don't like, and also determining why you might be tempted to judge them in the way that you do. Right? It sounds like it's a two-way street. Right? On one hand, you're saying that the men that maybe are critical of black women, not all, but not or not just a specific person, but the collective of black women, that these men may want to take a moment to do some patient introspection into, number one, what made you hate black women so much? Why do you dislike them? Why do you have such an issue with them? And then two, but then a lot of them might come back and say, look, we don't hate every black woman. There are black women that we love and admire, respect. We listen to them speak, and like there's people like Erica Lachey and some others who speak, and black men love Erica Lachey, right? So I
I don't
think
know, Erica.
you don't know Erica Lachey, but basically she's, and I think the reason that they love her is because she has an empathy toward black men. She understands black men and defends them, right? And I think that some of the men in the manosphere maybe feel like black men don't get defended. That they feel, constantly blamed. And I
Okay.
think also it's interesting because you got this whole single parent phenomenon in the black community where the overwhelming majority of our kids only have a mother and don't have a father. So what I'm hearing on both sides is, on one hand, I hear women that have their own experiences with men where they feel that maybe the men aren't doing what they are supposed to do. They're not. Their desire to have sex is far greater than their desire to take care of the baby. But then you hear men that feel that this, I can do it all by myself attitude, or or the parental alienation, that's driving the single parent epidemic. That there's a selfishness. There is a, I'm a black woman. I can do no wrong kind of mindset that says I can raise my child by myself, and my child's going to be just as healthy as if they had a father. And I will say I personally reject that, because I personally think that, to say that the father's not required is like saying that the mother is not required. And I know the mother's required. Ain't no question about whether the mother's required. So I'm trying to figure out, when did I become an optional piece of the puzzle, right? So it seems to me that that's, and the problem is, it's really impacting the black family. I mean, now a lot of our kids struggle emotionally. They make bad relationship choices because of the broken family dilemma. Did you have any thoughts in response to that?
Yeah, so there had two thoughts. One was that you talked about having empathy and explaining black men and what they go through. I think that's so important. Oh my God, we don't get enough of that. I think maybe we should do more of that explanation, but that doesn't mean excusing their behavior. So I think that's where I think, explaining their behavior doesn't excuse what they've done. So I've done a lot of, we've talked about the Will Smith situation just as an example.
Will Smith.
So I'm in my heart. It's like I look at that whole scenario, and I'm very empathetic of Will Smith, but I'm definitely not excusing his behavior. We could show that empathy and try to understand where he's coming from, but there's consequences to what he's doing. One of the consequences, he could go to jail, and you've talked about that at length about the consequences. So I don't want to excuse their behavior, but I want to also get into a place where we can have empathy for their behavior, try to understand what they were thinking and how they were feeling. What was Jada thinking? How was she feeling? This is just an illustration. What is it, seeing that and having an understanding. Okay, so that's the first thing, because you mentioned about that. The second one, you talked about how single mothers say, I'm just doing it on my own and I don't have help like I'd like to have help. But this is what I'm hearing them say. They may not be using these words, but this is what I hear. I hear them say, I'm doing it on my own because I have to. Like, the baby needs to eat, the baby needs clothes, the baby needs all these things. And so I've learned through behavior that I can't rely on this person. And so when I see women make those statements, I don't look at them and say, there's something wrong with single black women. No, I look at that and I say, this is a lady who's hurt, who has a lot of pain right now, probably because she was disappointed and let down because somebody said they would come through and they didn't come through for her. So I see a lot of hurt and pain in the positions of women who make statements like that. Like, I don't, of course, not going to pass judgment on them. I'm not going to say it's okay not to reach out, but sometimes when you have these trust issues and you open yourself up, you let your guard down and you trust another person, next thing you know, they run off somewhere and they could not be found when you need them, especially when you need them and you're trying to co-parent and you're trying to take care of your children because you love your children. They're with you all the time. How could you not be bonded and connected to them? You feel hurt. And so that's where that comes from. The pain. It's painful having to deal with things on your own. Being a mother is a thankless job. I mean, Mother's Day should be Mother's Week.
Let me ask you this though. Let me ask you this: do we harm the single mother's ability to get the help she needs by the society? Some parts of society, you can't lump everybody together, but does society harm the ability of that mother to get the help she needs by not encouraging her to understand what might be called for to persuade a man to want to be in that household? Like, I would just say that there are things that men like and don't like. There's a way to treat a man. There's a way to talk to a man. There's and we don't even have those conversations. Nobody's training. I know men who want to have sex with women get trained by other men. Look, if you want a lady to go out with you, here's what you got to do, right? Or at least the respectful men, anyway. But I wonder if the women get harmed, because I know that I think it was Tia Brown who mentioned that there was this push a generation ago of black moms telling their daughters, not all of them, but a lot of them telling their daughters, don't be worrying about these boys. You get your education. Don't be thinking about these boys. Focus on your school, right? And then when it came time to even knowing what is required to make a man happy enough to want to be in a house with you, they didn't know what to do. And then society says, well, you are a woman. You're strong. You can do it all by yourself. You don't need that man. What that man asked you to cook, to hell with him. You tell him to cook for himself. He asked you to clean. He asked you to do what? He don't. Girl, please. You ain't got to do nothing. And I don't know if that's a good message to tell somebody that you can sit back and do nothing, and somebody's going to just want to be around you just because you exist. I don't know. I mean, maybe you're worthy of love, but somebody who has options may not want to be a part of that. They may say, I could actually be in a place where I'm wanted instead of being in a place where I'm just tolerated. I'm going to go. What do you think?
Okay, so we can't put the blame of a failed relationship on one person. There's no way you can say that the reason why these relationships don't sustain itself is just because the black woman doesn't know how to talk to him.
Of course not. Absolutely, I agree. I agree 100%.
So it goes both ways. I think we do need to take some time out to figure out how to talk to each other in a way that's loving. So it and understand that. So that's the first thing. I'm certain that a lot of if I got single moms and single dads in one room, I'm certain they could have a lot to say about what the other person has done. And some men, don't want to accept accountability for their behavior. They want to, they want to have all this craziness going on. So anyway, I often am very cautious of just saying that it's just one particular person. So I also think that it's interactional. It's being able to come together as a family and being able to collaborate and to work together for the purpose of the family. I think relationships don't start knowing that it's never going to work out. You know what I mean? You always have hope that it's going to work. And I will say that, and of course I'm only talking about the people in my office, but there are a lot of people who are really doing the work. Who are really doing the work. There are a lot of men who are making effort to say, you know what, I think sometimes what I've been taught wasn't the right way. And so I need to learn exactly and show some empathy and learn and do something better than what my dad did. I get a lot of men in my office that say that. Like, my dad did some things that shouldn't have been done. I think there should have been some more healthy ways of dealing with this. And so we need to make it better. And a lot of women say that too. How my mom talked to my dad, I know that wasn't right. I need to fix this. And so they have this nice, genuine conversation about how to treat each other.
I think, and I do agree with you, right? I think that you kind of have, earlier, like I was saying, when you have people playing different games right now, I think you have a battle between unhealthy traditions and generational versus breaking generational curses. The unhealthy tradition is, I am a single black mother and I am happy. This is the path I need to take because I don't want to compromise. And my mother did it and she was fine, so I'm going to do it too. So if a man requires too much from me, I'm not willing to do those things because that's not important for me as an objective, as a person. I'm okay raising my kids with one parent because I feel like that's going to be okay. That the kids will be fine. And then there's also the father who says, I grew up with a single mother because my father was not there for me. And so, therefore, I have seen that a father isn't really required in the household. So, I'm going to go make a baby. And if I stay, great. If I don't, it's still going to be okay because there's nothing in my core value system that I grew up with that tells me that it's necessary for me to be in the home. I can be a good dad down the street or whatever, right? And then, to me, those are the traditions. I consider it to be an unhealthy tradition because if you look around the world, the communities that build wealth, the communities that succeed, tend to be ones that have solid families. I think that a lot of the single parent epidemic is linked to a lot of things, from incarceration to drug addiction to suicide. You can go down the list. But the breaking the generational curses is where you say, as a black woman, I know that maybe there are some areas where I have deficiencies when it comes to knowing what is required to find a good man, choose a good man, and keep that good man and do well with that man, right? So I'm going to spend my time and energy learning what I need to learn from the people who can teach me properly how to build a strong, healthy family. And because I love myself, I'm going to only play this game with people who are playing the same game with me, right? That's where like B1 people, that's where your speed dating comes into play, because those are the types of couples like when Keisha Ravenel got together with her fiance at the All Black National Convention. I could tell they were on the same page. And then for men, breaking generational curses means I grew up without my daddy. I didn't like that. That was very painful for me. I did not enjoy that at all. I feel like it's atrocious to do that to a child. I'm going to make sure that wherever I plant my seed, I'm going to pick good women to plant my seed with, or a woman, maybe I'm not judging. And wherever I plant my seed, I will monitor and maintain and protect that seed, right? So that partly means not just looking after my kids, but it also means looking after the woman who made the kids, right? And picking a woman that's quality enough that I'm going to be happy to look after that woman who made my kids. I knew a guy who hated his mother, and he was a very smart guy, very successful, very wealthy, but his relationships were all over the place. And I remember I talked to him. I said, "Hey man, how you doing?" He said, "Man, terrible dude." I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Man, I got this raggedy hoe pregnant, and da da da." And basically he told me the story. He said that he met a lady. I think it literally she was a stripper, and he got the stripper pregnant, and now he's having all these problems like raising his baby with this stripper that he didn't even know. He knew her like 2 days before he got her pregnant. And I remember thinking, and but here's the thing, because his relationship with his mother was so toxic as a child, he had a string of situations like that. He had 3 or 4 kids by women that he didn't even like. So if you don't like a woman, then you're not going to want to love, nurture, and protect her as the queen who gave birth to your beautiful children. So I think that the to me I believe prevention is worth a pound. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That means you got to love yourself enough to say, okay, I need to make sure I'm around quality the kinds of people that I'm going to feel the desire to protect. I protect you, and I see you in a certain way as my wife because I put you on a pedestal, and I'm proud of that. Like I think that you being with you is a privilege, right? And because I see it as a privilege, I'm willing to do the work. I'm not always willing to do the work, but I wouldn't be willing to do the work with anybody. So I don't do the work because I love the work. I do the work because I love the reward that comes with doing the work. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so being married is a tough job. It is a full-time job. It takes up all your time, all your energy, everything. Sometimes it's exhausting, it's draining, it's
Oh my
everything.
God, look at this truck.
Yeah, see that there's a truck that's
This truck is like on the side. That is crazy.
wow. I wonder if it could turn the video on
Do
some
you want
people.
me to record it?
No, well, don't do that. That's not nice.
Well, you just asked.
I know, right? But you know what? I can actually turn the camera on here.
You gonna turn the camera on?
Yeah, let me see if I can take this thing off.
Oh my God, it was an accident.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, everybody? So now you guys can see us. You guys want to see this truck?
Oh
Say hi.
yeah, there's everybody. Hey.
Yeah. Okay. So here's this truck. There's a truck on the side of the road. Not that this is entertainment or anything, but since y'all family, we figured y'all don't want to see it. So this is what we're seeing on the road.
What happened? I was like, oh gosh, we got traffic. Wait, let this car through.
No. I'll slow down.
Oh no, he was going too fast and flipped
Look
over.
at that. There's gas leaking out of his
Oh,
truck.
look, it's spewing out of there.
Yeah. Ooh.
Ooh,
Man,
Boyce, go, go, go.
let's get out of here.
Oh, the man is
Ooh.
small.
Is he okay?
Oh, he was holding his head.
Oh no. Is he all right?
Oh,
Did you guys see that?
that was terrible. All the best to that.
I feel like we just took everybody on our road trip with us.
Oh, that's awful though.
I know. Does that make us bad people that we like?
Did we recorded that? No.
No, I think I think everybody does that.
That was interesting, but it was sad to see.
It was, and I got a little nervous when I saw that gas coming out of the bottom of his truck.
We gotta hurry up. Gas is like
let's roll through.
fire.
Let's roll. Remember when we went to we took our son to visit
Was it Bradley?
Bradley, and there was a car on fire, like a big pummel of smoke coming up that we saw from like a mile away.
That was, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we got to do. We got to take Pillow Talk on the road and do like road trips. And actually,
we can't call it car talk.
Well, I don't want to call it car talk. I want to call it pillow talk.
Pillow talk in the car.
Pillow talk in the car. We just keep pillows in the trunk. But anyway, guys. Anyway, so we're gonna go and let you guys go. And actually, if you live in Chicago or near Chicago and you want to come to Chicago, May 15th, we are gonna have an event. The working title is Pillow Talk Live. Where basically we want to do like a social kind of thing and get together and talk about love and money and everything in between and do speed dating and stuff like that. Do you want to talk about that at all?
And maybe speed networking. I think it'll be just fun in a springtime moment to sit and drink some mimosas and have a conversation.
Yes, an intelligent black conversation about money, relationships, and everything in between. We're gonna, and the place we're gonna do it is the South. Is it the South Shore Center? Is that
South Shore Cultural Center?
South Shore Cultural Center, which is where we were gonna have our wedding when we planned it back in 2019. But then the pandemic came, so we ended up getting married in Texas. But then we found out we still had a deposit down on the venue, which is a beautiful venue. Barack and Michelle got married there.
They sure did.
Yeah, so we're gonna be feeling kind of bougie that day. So if you want to come and hang out with us and be bougie with us, then feel free to come to the Chicago thing. It's going to be May 15th. Get on the email list. Go to boyceandalicia.com and you can get some free resources on starting your path to a drama-free life, drama-free relationships, drama-free finances, all that. It's totally free. And we'll email you the link when it's ready. But yeah, we're going to go to Chicago. We've got another event planned in, well, you got Detroit. You're going to speak at the One Unite or the One Africa event. And if you go to boycewatkins.com, there are passes for that at boycewatkins.com. I'm going to be speaking down in Georgia at the event for the Emerging Kings. I'll put that on boycewatkins.com. Man, we got a lot of stuff going on. And then there is New Orleans. We're going to the Essence Fest. That's going to be great. That's going to be July 1st. So if you're thinking about going to the Essence Fest, Alicia and I will be at the Essence, and we're going to have an event there. You can join us for that. And then was there another one? What was in June? Juneteenth, Atlanta.
Oh, Atlanta, the B1 movie.
Yeah, we're going to show our new movie called B1 the Movie. We're going to do that in Atlanta. And then, of course, there's the All Black National Convention in August. So we have a lot of stuff going on. Just go to boycewatkins.com and I can kind of keep you guys posted. Also, if you sign up at boyceandalicia.com, I will send you guys an email when things happen. And you can also start our Black Love Challenge at boyceandalicia.com. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. It was real. This was fun. I hope you guys had a good time. I've enjoyed talking to you. And even if we disagree, I hope that we can all still be friends and love each other no matter what our point of view is. So take care. Have a good day. Love you guys.
Bye, everyone.